And now welcome to Soul Eater Episode 3. We're back to ones I really liked. I still don't like it as much as Episode 1, because this one here was just a funny romp, there wasn't as much of an emotional aspect. But hey, it introduces some cool characters, there's genuinely hilarious jokes, it's just a silly experience. And the only real downside to me was, this one does have the most disgusting fan service of the first 3 episodes. It's the most specifically degrading and there's no excuse for this to be in the plot. But I'm happy to report to you guys, we're basically done with this now, we're over the hump. From what I remember, episode 4 and maybe 5 have still a little bit of a lingering, slightly more sexual tone in the rest of the series, but there's no more degrading fan service. It's just okay, now we've just gone back to the regular level of fan service you would expect in a show for 12-year-olds. And sometimes an episode has no fan service at all. When the plot doesn't need it, it doesn't happen. Would you imagine that? I figured it was probably getting boring seeing the little bouncing JPEGs when I talk. And it's not like I can go through and edit in every bit of relevant footage from the episode, because the whole point of making these was here's a quick video I can put out in between bigger ones, and that would end up just taking as much time as all my regular massive projects. So today we are starring a random gif of Dr. Snap dancing in the background. Big thanks to my friend Abby Tato for helping to convert the model to usable files and rigging and stuff like that. And she recommended this site called Mixamo where you can just click on random animations and it's funny and cute. It initially was having some sort of glitch where it wouldn't load the textures. I've mostly got that fixed now, but you'll notice a strange transparency glitch. That's the last thing I couldn't get rid of. For some reason, if his leg is in front of the back of his coat, it turns invisible, and I don't know why, but it's probably not very visible on 2 centimeters of a dancing man while I chat about other things. And so now let's do that. So anyway, for this one I feel I've been having trouble formatting these reviews in general. I've tended to go, here's the summary of the episode, and I end up talking about what I liked about the episode throughout that, and it doesn't end up being a summary. So I'm going to try and format this one differently, because in this case I think talking about the characters separate from the plot would help explain my feelings a bit better. So here's a very brief, starting 5 seconds of summary. This one is about Lord Death's son, Death the Kid. Summary end. Now let's talk about Death the Kid. Now, I know people are very torn on this character. I like him, but I can also totally understand, the complaints are completely valid. But first off, it's really cool, this aspect, this idea, the son of the Grim Reaper is trying to be a regular human boy. And we don't really get much of an insight into the reasons why right now, but he's I want to make my weapons a death scythe the normal way, rather than just coasting on my reputation as a Grim Reaper and getting the job immediately. And that's cool, and he has a perfectionist obsession. That's also an interesting aspect to the character. He's genuinely badass in some way. In other ways, he takes it too far, and his obsession with it makes him less cool. To be fair, all 3 of the main male characters so far have been guy who tries to act cooler than he is. But I like when they do different spins on the concept. Death the Kid, you would not superficially notice he's actually that archetype, because he has such a unique take on it. Because that's unfortunately also the bad aspect of the character I have to get to, is the way they interpret his obsession with perfection is he literally just has OCD, and the show makes fun of him for having OCD. That's it, that's the joke. That's the reason people have complaints about the characters. They overuse the same joke over and over and over again for him, and it gets really annoying. And I can understand that, obviously it's still equally as annoying with a repetition regardless, but I also just feel sad that because of this, a guy who has a real-world mental condition is getting a bad rep because the way it was represented was not very good in the show. I would hesitate to call it super bad either. It just feels oblivious, to put it that way. They never outright say he has OCD, they just call it an obsession with perfection. But it's exactly OCD. Every overblown stereotype you would expect for that exact mental illness. And also the way he experiences it just feels way more realistic to what OCD actually is, even compared to, it's so bizarre, it's so polarizing. We have, half really unrealistic, half... Actually, wait a second, they don't tend to mention those things in a stereotype. That's the joke is, he'll get obsessed with something is not perfectly symmetrical, ooh, ha, ha, stereotypical version of OCD, and then he'll get very anxious and sometimes suicidal about it, and that's the aspect of OCD you don't often see represented. It is genuinely constantly an impact on his life, a detriment to his ability to function. We see how it gets in the way of his studies, gets in the way of joining in fights, of saving his friends, how it affects his mental health. But that's also played as a joke. It's like it's just blown off as funny and no one cares, and he would never actually kill himself anyway. It's just, isn't it so funny how he's whining over the top like a melodramatic someone from a Twilight movie or something. I'm just standing there just not laughing at all because I'm like, why is this meant to be funny? This isn't how it works in real life. Like, being suicidally depressed, it's not funny. But I feel like I'm being a stick in the mud for saying that because it's so clearly not trying to be a negative depiction. It's just someone who, I guess, genuinely believed this was just a funny character quirk people do for no reason. Also, it gives me the vibe of, like, you know when shows accidentally represent autism really well, and the author is like, oh, the character wasn't meant to be autistic? That, it's like, this is a person who does not have this condition, who has clearly observed someone in their life who has this condition, and has just thought, that's a funny character quirk, I'm going to be inspired by that, and didn't realise there was a reason why they act that way, and has just accidentally made exactly the thing in the show without having the slightest bit of awareness. Like bloody Laios from Dungeon Meshi. Everyone was so surprised he was not intentionally autistic rep because they just get every single detail correct. What's unfortunate is quite often these types of representation end up being better than intentional representation because a lot of the time in media, intentional representation isn't made from a genuine effort of like, oh, I want to be nice to those people. It's like, I want to sell stuff to those people, or I have a bigoted idea of what those people are like, and I just want to make a joke out of it on purpose. Whereas this is like an innocent type of like making a joke by accident. And like, yeah, I'm fine with that. And never at any point watching the show did I go, oh, Death the Kid is so offensive, I hate this character. It was just like, oh, I feel really sorry for him. I wish they'd give him a break sometimes. Oh, well, if he existed in the real world and he could get a diagnosis, his life would be so much better. Someone hand this man a book of coping strategies. So anyway, now we've got that out of the way, the reason why a lot of the fan base dislikes this character, and I myself do not, and I like him a lot, that's it. So now we can get on to the actual summary of the episode. We get introduced to a new character, Lord Death's son. Like I said, he is trying to do the same thing that all the other previous characters did. It's a little bit repetitive because he also goes for a mission where he can get all 99 souls at once. But it does at least make sense in character. I gotta say, Kid overall gives the vibe like not actually an arrogant man in any way, like Black Star. Not trying to do this on purpose. Just really, really clueless about how to interact with humans and really stuck up on his own perfectionism. And again, it's a character who very clearly is instantly established as the reason why he's so perfectionist is because he has low self-confidence issues. He will literally fall apart into a sobbing, crying, suicidal mess about not having symmetry in his own hair, of all things. So yeah, I just vibe with it a lot more. It makes sense in this context too because he actually is not a student at the same school as everybody else. Him taking shortcuts like this is more recontextualized in the sense of like, he doesn't want to go to school, he doesn't want to actually interact with humans, he just wants to prove he can be as equal to them and do this thing the same as them, without ever actually having to get to know them. It's an interesting flaw to the character, and one they'll actually do things with, as opposed to just, well, he's arrogant. And honestly, I feel there's a lot more comedy potential in the idea of someone who's perceived as arrogant but actually isn't. They do have genuinely good jokes with this character, they just kind of fall back on the one joke that isn't. So anyway, we're introduced to him, and he has 2 weapons unlike everybody else, because he's obsessed with symmetry. And the funny joke is that his 2 weapons look identical in weapon form, but their human forms are totally different. They're sisters, one's short, one's tall, etc. We get some very interesting backstory for them later on, which I guess I can't discuss now because it would technically be spoilers. But they have a nice, funny dynamic going on. The big sister is more normal and serious, but she's also a total coward, who often ends up cowering in fear behind her little sister, who's completely brave but also completely nuts. Just your classic Cloud Cuckoo Lander, Genki Girl, Selphie from Final Fantasy VIII type of character. Equal mix of cute and vicious. I really like her. Their names are Liz and Patty respectively, and when I was rewatching the episode, I constantly couldn't remember what the name was for the older one, because for some reason, in the English dub, I don't know if it's the same in Japanese, they just keep saying Patty, 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 Patty this, Patty that, and nobody ever says that the other one's called Liz until the very end of the episode. I was like, oh, I get it now! Anyway, they're both cowboys. I don't know why they're cowboys. I do love the vibe they all have together as a trio. Like, Kid is all grumpy and superficially he's like, oh, I'm always mad at you guys because you're not symmetrical. But he actually does care about them. And they're also like, oh, they have to be butlers to this stupid rich boy, and we're apparently casual people from a lower class who lived somewhere else. Again, not going to spoil the backstory until it comes up. But then you also get this vibe that, like, all three of them just act like siblings. Like, they've basically adopted Kid into the fold. And they do all genuinely have big old affection for each other, even though they also bicker a lot. It's very charming. And it's what adds up to make this entire episode just so funny. So what actually happens? Well, Kid's mission to go beat up another super mega strong person with 99 souls is a witch summoning a undead pharaoh in a cool funky pyramid. Kid hilariously decides on this not because of like all the massive benefits it will have, but because it's symmetrical. He just really loves Egyptian art. They all go there, 100 million funny things happen, fighting these various mummy minions, having great character interactions, establishment of all their very different clashing personalities and the funny dynamic they have, and how they actually care about each other. And Kid's OCD happens at least 5 times. It is a bit funny and charming the first time, but like, we get it, you don't need to keep going on. Kid is so racked by anxiety, thinking something he left at home was slightly skew with, that he actually runs away mid-fight, and the other two have to deal with it. We'll get a really great fight scene establishing why these dual weapons are such a unique and cool thing in universe, is that Patty and Liz can actually fight even without their human there. One of them transforms, the other one uses it, and they flip back and forth in this amazing, massive Sakuga fight scene, like somersaulting, flying, transforming, shooting a gun through a guy's head in the mouth, and exploding mummies everywhere. Several bad fan service things happen, which I'll save till the end. Kid eventually comes back just in time, and then they subvert the expected trope of, oh, and he got over his anxiety and he's back to save everyone. He actually just loses the fight because, oh no, the mummy is so symmetrical I can't fight back. So his big hero moment is completely ruined. But then it turns out the mummy is in fact not symmetrical, so he just wins in like one hit. It's a very boring way to end the episode, and it does kind of feel like nobody really learned anything. But I feel like it wasn't really the point. Like, this episode was not meant to be a super emotional bonding moment with all the characters. It was just, this is why the characters are great, this is why they're funny, and look forward to their future episodes where they will hopefully actually get some kind of further insight. So in that sense, I think it still falls short from the first episode, but it's miles ahead of the second episode. I just enjoyed my time here. Like, nothing even happened and I still had fun. So now to talk about why the fan service really put me off in this one. There's a couple of scenes of it. The first one is, kids, well, you're not symmetrical because your boobs aren't the same size. I get maybe the joke is meant to be, like, isn't it comical he's noticing the tiniest, smallest detail that isn't symmetrical about them, as opposed to the entire rest of their design is different except they're both cowboys. But it just feels so contrived and like, he would not do that. Nobody in this room would do any of these actions. Because it's not even presented as Kid being in any way a pervert or remotely attracted to them. Like, they're all, like, platonic friends / adoptive siblings. And, like, Kid, as far as we can tell, is either fully asexual, oblivious about love, or just not attracted to these people at all. Because he doesn't seem to have any idea why what he's doing is wrong. He's just like, I'm neutrally pointing out that you have this trait. Like, he's not even saying you're unattractive or anything, it's just, you're not symmetrical. But they have him do it by grabbing their boobs and squishing them to compare them, and it's just, he would not do that. I've only known this man for 5 minutes and he would not do that. He never does anything like that in any future episodes, it's just not canon. And this is what I mean about the fan service being specifically degrading in this episode. It's like, literally, we had to fill a quota of how much fan service to put in, so we made up an excuse that's the most contrived thing in the world. Because the second one is the most contrived thing in the world. Kid briefly leaving the room because he's worried about symmetry allows his 2 partners to be kidnapped by the mummy who, for no reason, like, tentacle rapes them. It's not outright assault, but it's like undressing them with tentacles. Bandaged tentacles. And it's so incredibly detailed and over the top. They really play into it. They have like bow chicka wow wow music. Zoom in on their faces and really detailed lips and popping the lips and spit going everywhere, like to mislead you into thinking, oh, the mummy actually is having sex with them, but no, he's only stripping them naked. And it doesn't fully show the nakedness. It's like it's really gross. It's like pulls her shirt up a bunch of underboob, and you can see the thong sticking out of where he's pulling the trousers down, but you don't actually get to see the trousers go down. They stop before it becomes absolutely morally repugnant. Cause I gotta remind you all, these people are teenagers, and that's just the joke. This only exists for the joke. There's no reason in the plot why this has to happen. It's like 5 seconds. Walk out of the room, walk back in, something sexy is happening, okay, now it's over, and we just get back to the fight. It's so bizarre. They pull such a stupid excuse too, like, oh, we couldn't have broken out from being groped by the bandages because the bandages have the magic power to drain weapon powers, which we're not going to show on screen anyway. It's not going to be in any way an obstacle in the fight because Kid immediately just cuts the bandage and now the threat is gone. The threat only existed to provide 10 seconds of someone's tits. It's literally like that meme. Have you seen it? Like, oh, he's using his mind powers to make me kiss you. What are you talking about? He doesn't even have telekinesis. It is the most, like, the writer's barely disguised fetish moment I have ever seen. They don't even portray the personality of the pharaoh as being particularly lustful in any way. Again, it's just, these things just coincidentally happen. I do give it credit, at least the very end of the scene was genuinely funny, because the punchline to it all is, Kid walks in and is like, oh, sorry, you're busy, didn't mean to intrude, bye-bye, and walks back out again. He genuinely mistakes us for, oh, my partners are just having some consensual sex with a mummy, I wouldn't want to be rude, and it made me laugh my arse off because I was not expecting that at all. And it also adds more to the perception of, Kid is just oblivious to love and didn't realise what he was doing was fan servicey. But anyway, that's immediately resolved, they're saved, we have the fight. The mummy guy gets destroyed in one move as soon as Kid just realises he doesn't look cool enough. The episode truly is like 20 minutes of fun, 1 minute of absolute crud at the very end. But it doesn't hold back the rest of it. So, on that note, I actually lost my original recording that I did while watching this to find, like, fun clips and stuff. So, I'm gonna go rewatch this a second time and see if there's anything I forgot to remark upon here. Today's random real-world human villain of the day is Lupin the Third, which I don't think is based on the anime of the same name, but rather the novel that it was based on in the first place. I cannot get over how he looks like a buff, adult version of Akechi from Persona 5 years before that series ever existed, and now I've said that you can never unsee it either. Incidentally, it's also weird how they kind of dropped this element after the first 3 chapters, but as far as I can remember, there was never another case after this where the random human villain of the day was based on a real historical killer or a fictional character, or anything in general, actually. I love that summon animation.
Your soul has become a quiche of egg. It is pure evil.
I totally forgot his voice sounds like that. I remember the first time I was watching this, I did a double take. I was like, are you voiced by Vic Mignogna? Because it does sound like that, right? But no, it's actually Bryce Papenbrook. And just doing a voice that just happens to sound very similar to that of another guy. And I just, as a tangent to mention, I don't get why people used to like Vic Mignogna, but even before he was revealed to have all those controversies and stuff, I just always thought it was weird how his voice always just sounds like him. Every single performance he does in everything, you can always tell that's Vic Mignogna because he's just doing the same voice. And often it feels strange that it doesn't really fit the characters. Like, Ed in Full Metal Alchemist, he sounds a lot older than he is, especially when Vic Mignogna is voicing him still in the flashbacks where he's even younger. I mean, he wasn't a bad actor, but he didn't have much range, did he? Oh, I totally forgot, actually. This guy gets away. He's the only one of these original starting villains in these first 3 chapters that just doesn't get defeated in any way at all. Kid and the sisters are too busy arguing, and he just escapes down a manhole. You know, that's weird in retrospect, but he never took a chance to make him come back in a later chapter and have a rematch. And this is in fact born of a future editing this part into the video, because this was going to be in the manga comparison video. By the way, I'm making a manga comparison video, but I only just realised at the very end that I left this out, and I'd already rendered it, and it made more sense, hey, the one I haven't finished yet, just pop it in there. One little thing here I've noticed is definitely a difference between the anime and the manga is when he's explaining about symmetry, he does the little air quote symbol with his fingers, which in the anime dub at least doesn't seem to have any meaning because he doesn't say anything quoted in the sentence. In the manga he actually is saying, I need to have everything done perfectly, and the word perfectly is in quotes. to emphasize it's the main focus of a sentence rather than, oh, not really perfectly quote unquote. So it's not really using English quote marks in the same way that you would use them in English, which is probably why the dubbers chose to remove it. But it's funny, he still keeps doing that. Just very briefly showing the horrible fan service scene number 1, just to prove I was not lying about it existing. It's weird and it's bad. To throw in another manga comparison, at least it doesn't look as bad as in the manga. And here is, again, this is the one OCD joke that happens again and again.
Filthy and dirty and unbalanced. I'm garbage. Asymmetrical garbage. I deserve to die.
I'm not garbage. If you were garbage, then you'd smell a lot worse. Why don't we just get him to try again, okay?
I love Patty. I should make like a based Patty lines counter. I like how he has a unique way of summoning to talk to his dad. Like, as we saw Maka and Soul, they write the number. But obviously, because he's part Grim Reaper himself, he can just summon a whole-ass demon portal, and it looks absolutely awesome. I really like when they occasionally lean into actually showing his monster powers. Honestly, they don't do that enough. Also, gotta say, I don't really like the dynamic that Kid has with his dad, with Lord Death. It's kind of just like, why exactly are you always grumpy with him? Because we just see Lord Death is always nice to him and trying really hard to be a good dad, and then Kid is always like, I guess it's just that trope I don't really understand, where, like, if your dad is too clingy and nice, it's embarrassing. I guess I just fundamentally lack the ability to understand that, because obviously I didn't have a good childhood growing up. I would cling to affection as much as I could, so maybe I kind of idealize it a bit. Maybe there is a certain thing about the way affection can be shown that there can be too much of it. Or maybe it is just that boring trope of all teenagers are rebellious for no apparent reason and we don't really need to examine it or explain it or make an actual character arc. I don't remember there being any particular development about this throughout the show. Maybe I'll be wrong, maybe it's better than I expected in the rewatch. Random filler scenes throughout this episode of Black Star just hanging around in school. Oh, this guy, Death the Kid, they say he's really strong and cool, he took the big mission and I want to take because I'm a big shot and I want to... blah 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 blah. Yeah, again, I prove I've learned nothing from the previous episode. I also wanted to again go on the same bloody thing, a mission to get all 99 souls at once, rather than having learned my lesson that I should take things a bit slower and do things at my own skill level. Anyway, this just keeps happening. It just keeps panning back and cutting to him doing more various things. And I wonder if this was just space filler. Like, was this chapter shorter in the manga or something? Born of the Future! Yes, it was! None of this shit is in it. I really love Kid's flying skateboard. It's rad. They have a little animation of it zooming across the screen, and I can't fucking show it. Sorry.
In the heart of the scorching Egyptian desert.
In the heart of Transylvania, in the Vampire Hall of Fame, yeah, there's no one quite as anime as Duckula. I love his crazy effect he does sucking the skateboard into his hand. I love it. He's a little bit scrungly, he's a little bit not normal. I do wish they did give us more of that. Because when you think about it, he's basically Slender Man in a boy suit. I love these crazy nose men. I want to just add a little vent here again about the stupid YouTube copyright. The last 2 minutes or so were clocked as a single copyright violation. For context, I had tiny clips, under 5-second clips of various different scenes from the show, and then long stretches of just a single screenshot, and all of that had got copyright struck as one singular scene. It's like I put 5 seconds of a start of a Pokemon episode, 5 seconds of Pikachu fighting, 10 minutes later, and one long screenshot of Ash standing next to a bridge in between, and that got flagged as the entirety of the opening song. That just shows how crappy this automated system is. Okay, I can't show this scene. Again, I can't show just a long stretch of dialogue even if there's no footage on screen. I'll sum this up. Patty and Liz are just walking through the pyramid. Patty out of nowhere brings up, hey, do you know we're not supposed to sneeze with your eyes open? What if we can't do that? Because if we do, our eyes will launch out of our heads. And Liz is like, yeah, Patty, yeah, sure, it might just be an involuntary reflex caused by synapses in the brain, but that explanation's as good as anything. Patty responds, oh, hey, but I want to test it, though. Liz responds, but if you do test it and your eyes do pop out, what are you going to do? And Patty, in the most hilariously adorable voice acting, goes, oh, yeah, that's really smart, sis. I really like the scene, it's not nearly as funny when I'm delivering it. Based Patty dialogue number 2. I just fucking love it. This comes out of nowhere. No resolution, no. Why did this happen? But I love her. She's so fun. What if you just launched your eyes out of your head like ping pong balls? I gotta say, much as the repetitive same joke kid notices something unsymmetrical and goes into his dark corner of woe and says he's gonna kill himself, as much as I don't like that joke, there are some funny jokes surrounding it, like the way people react to it. I still really think this episode is fun.
I'm worried about it when we get home.
I'm worrying about it. I'm worrying about it.
For the purposes of YouTube, I need to break up this scene. I'm a dancing machine.
Don't worry, I won't let you worry about it.
I'm worried.
Oh, I remember these guys. I was so confused by this as a kid. Like, the whole joke is, oh, the mummies look cute now, and then they do not look cute, and I just thought they looked cute in both versions. Like, I don't know, they're still cute, they've just got big mouths. And they're like my exact kind of thing, ugly cute, I love that. Scrungly cute.
Hey kid, let's go.
Dear Liz and Patty, I'm still worrying about it. Nothing you can say will help.
See, this is exactly what I mean. It's a fucking laugh riot. The sense of comedic timing, the voices, the total cutting out of the music, and then it rolling back in with heavy rock. I love this episode. I love this episode so much. I would finally be able to love it perfectly if they just removed those 2 bad scenes. Anyway, this fight scene is amazing. And I cannot show you... Oh, it's generally the best fight scene in the 3 episodes I've seen so far. It's so cool. I'm going to describe vaguely what it is. Please watch the episode and find it. It's this really awesome, unique feature they have as dual guns, as they can fight even if Kid isn't around, and it's like, Patty does a flip and turns into a gun, and Liz shoots the gun, and then they dodge by Liz turning into the gun, and Patty turning not into the gun, and they flip around and grab it in midair and shoot a bunch of mummies through the head, and everything explodes everywhere, and it's amazingly animated. It's really impressive how they keep the tracking of who's turning into what, and going all these crazy angles and stuff, and it ends on this dramatic shot of like, they put the gun up to the head of the final mummy, and there's a bang sound effect, it cuts away and it starts shooting down the corridors to find where Kid is on his way coming back through, and it's very cool, and nobody can witness a single second of it because YouTube is shit. The guy they were trying to take down was not in fact the Pharaoh, it was the witch who is summoning the Pharaoh, and she exists for like 2 seconds, before the Pharaoh betrays her, and the entire time she narrates every single second of her own betrayal. I can actually do an impression of this one. He's got me! I'm being pulled in! I'm being dragged! He's going to eat my soul! I don't know why, but that joke in particular really got me. You are now like my favourite random background character, which is incredibly descriptive about her own demise. Okay, there's one brief moment in the constant cutting back to Black Star that was a little bit funny. It just keeps going.
Oh dear, I'm leftovers.
I love her. She's got like 4 sentences in the entire runtime of Soul Eater and still makes such an impact. Unironically, if they brought back unnecessary description, which in like a gacha game as a super secret rare, I would be all about that. You could just take my wallet. Oh, and all the Black Star running about scenes did kind of have a point in the end. He's going around searching who is it who took the big mission. He finds out in the end, oh, it's Kid. But in the process, we briefly meet with this character, who will be important in, I think, either episode 4 or 5. And by the time you meet him in the main story, he has a very different character design because some kind of plot twist happens. Not going to spoil it. So it's actually really cool to see him briefly in his previous design, which we don't actually really see, I think. Born over the future! Yeah, coming back from the man comparison video, I can confirm it's only briefly shown this design in a flashback. So genuinely much better foreshadowing to just have one single scene of meeting the dude. And it's so innocuous too, it feels like a side scene. You never think, oh, he's going to be important in a little while, so it hits really well.
Really?
Yes, really. I'm not a man to tell a lie.
Oh, I love that line. That's really good foreshadowing. That's a thing he will say in a very different context later on. Oh, I love that. Oh, I forgot this. Every time I watch this episode, I forget this scene even exists. It makes no sense. It's like, what do they call it on TV tropes? A big-lipped alligator moment where it's just a funny thing happens that has no correlation to anything about the show, the episode, the world building, no explanation. When Kid gets back to the pyramid, there's just this cat ball monster. It appears for 5 seconds, Kid goes, wow, you're so symmetrical, and oh, there's one detail that's not symmetrical. He throws it away and then carries on as if nothing happened. What is this thing? What association does this have with mummies? Did the Pharaoh summon like 10,000 walking corpses and one spherical feline? And again, the bad fan service occurs and I will not be showing it, just trust me, it's very bad. Let's move on. I don't have much else to comment on the end of the episode. Just like I said, it's a little bit disappointing. It's not as fun. But one thing I gotta say is I'm not going to show the images of it on screen again, too, because I don't really know what YouTube's rules are about gore. But for some reason, this fight with the Pharaoh is way more bloody than all the rest of the ones we've seen in the episode so far. The anime has already been a bit more bloody than the manga. But, like, after this frame, it starts spurting everywhere. I guess they're trying to really emphasize just how serious Kid's OCD is, that he won't fight back if something perfect and beautiful and correctly organized, even if he's literally dying. But I do think it's a bit much. It doesn't come off as really badass or cool, it's just like unintentionally comical. Which is strange because the rest of the episode is intentionally comical, but this scene is framed as genuinely dramatic. And then YouTube would not even let me show 3 seconds of the funny part. If you've seen the episode, you know what the funny part is. Raph. Well, bonking you with a big ass hammer. That, but taken completely seriously. I hope you can at least picture that in your mind's eye. And then he dead. End.
I want to put this whole episode behind me.
Ironically, me about the previous episode. And then no, it actually ends on the same OCD joke again, and then the same joke, haha, your boobs are not symmetrical sizes. It's a really mediocre ending to what's otherwise a really good, fun episode. I genuinely did enjoy it. I think it just goes to show, like, when you're falling back on just repeating the same thing over and over as a joke, whether it be show booba or mental illness is funny, like, even if someone happened to agree that it was funny the first time, they're still going to get sick of it. Whereas when it's actually just trying to be creative with the jokes, it really shines. Like, hypothetically, if it even just thought of a different second joke about tits, maybe I wouldn't be so mad. Oh, again, it's a huge shame I can't show this. It's a great moment to advertise the whole damn show to you. It's a really cool ending to, now we've seen the first 3 episodes, it's like, Maka and Soul, the Scythe Master. Promo images fly around. Black Star and Tsubaki vent dark arms. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Lord Death, Son Death the Kid, and his twin pistols, Liz and Patty. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Big dramatic zoom out into blackness. The prologue has now ended. Now begins the true show. Zoom in the logo. It's very cool, and I can't show any of it. So there you go. I really like that little summary, and hopefully you guys can understand now why I had to show all 3 episodes. They kind of are part and parcel. And from here on, it's smooth sailing towards a great show of all of them as an ensemble cast, where significantly less boobies will exist. So on that note, I have ended my reviews of the first 3 episodes, and here I was going to say about my plans for reviewing some other animes, which is not going to happen now. I hope you guys did still enjoy this. I don't regret making this. I did still have fun making it at the start before all the big edits. It's a shame that something unlucky like this could have sapped the fun out of it in the end, but it can't take away the fun I had at the beginning. And I can still ramble about this anime to my friends on Discord, and hey, we've got the manga comparison episode still coming up. That one will have no copyright edits, so you can enjoy my uninterrupted hype.